Hey there, and welcome to Money and You. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. My search for more fulfilling work led me to career and business coaching, where I stumbled upon a game-changing discovery. Money issues often start with our mindset and habits. You see, our relationship with money is the key to overcoming those frustrating financial obstacles. As an entrepreneur, coach, and problem solver, I'm passionate about helping you create a great relationship with money. Because, turns out, that's the foundation for a limit-free life. Each week on Money and You, I speak with amazing guests about all things money, mindset, practical tips, and everything in between. We're here to give you new insights, education, and empowerment so money can be one of your favorite relationships. So join us for some lively conversations and let's transform your financial life together. Hello, hello, and welcome to not just another episode of Money and You, but the 200th episode of the Money and You show. I'm so proud of this show. Yes, Tony Sweet and I and the UBN Go team have had a wonderful time really shifting from the Limit Free Life show, which we did together for 3 or 4 years, to the Money and You show. And I can't believe we've made it to 200. And the shows keep getting better. And the guests are coming and requesting to be on the show, which is thrilling. And I am just super, super grateful for all of you who listen, for all of you who subscribe to the show on YouTube. And I can't wait to keep it going. I don't know, another 200 maybe, huh, Tony? So today's show is extra special because it's this anniversary show. And I have a guest coming on who is somebody that I've admired and I've followed and I've subscribed to her blogs and everything else for many, many, many years, since really the time I began my coaching business, I believe. So I'm thrilled to have her today. And she is an absolute wealth of knowledge and very, very experienced in the world of finance, but also very, very much in tune with money mindset work and how important your relationship with money is. So she's a fantastic guest. We're going to get into some really great conversations. And we're going to start right now. So anyway, Hilary Hendershott, MBA, CFP, is the founder of Hendershott Wealth Management, a fee-only advisory firm, helping high net worth women and couples build wealth with a tax-smart fiduciary approach. A TEDx speaker and creator of the Money Operating System, Hilary has been named to Investopedia's top 100 financial advisors 6 years in a row and featured in Forbes, NBC, and the Wall Street Journal. She's also the host of her own podcast, Love Your Money, Wealth, Money, and Financial Advisor for Women. Hilary, thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here for 200.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, but it's super fun. And I mean, you have a podcast, you see how they evolve and grow. And it's a really great way to communicate financial information to women especially, but just to people. I just think it's hard to read all those finance books out there. And so
it is. And, I'm an audio person. Personally, my show's evolved so much. It's changed names 3 times. So yes, they evolve, but it's so cool to be living in a time where we have all this information being provided to us for different voices at different times and different methods. And, if I had to read books to get everywhere that I've gotten in life, I don't know how it would have gone because I love the audio format. So here we go.
I do too. I really love it. And now I've taken to reading. Usually if it's a financial book, I'll buy the book, but I'll also listen to it on Audible or whatever, because
Me too.
They're usually full of some graphs and other things that you want to actually have the physical book. But, it brings light to the fact that there's so much to learn, and it's rather difficult to learn it. I mean, we don't learn it in school really, unless you're a finance major, and then we don't have time to read and study. And so this is a really nice extra layer of financial education that people can get. So I love the podcasting world for finance information.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. What, let's see, you air in video too, right? So you're on YouTube and podcasts. See, it's just making it available to everyone.
Well, and with that said, I want to go back a little bit. I only read a very short bio of yours. You have a much more extensive array of credentials and everything else that I could talk about. But I'd love for you to go back kind of to the early days and how you started in this world, basically.
Yeah. So there's kind of three narratives. One, I was really math smart, right? I got my degree in economics. I graduated magna cum laude. I used to tutor the math portion of the SAT. I have graduate school admissions scores that qualify me for Mensa. Like, I could do the tests, right? We were talking about books versus audio. I think the reason I prefer audio now is because I've read so many freaking books. So I kind of thought I was on my way, but if I was honest about it, I had kind of a broken mindset about money. So what had happened was in my childhood, my mom she was a single mom. My parents got divorced when I was about 6, and, she had a good job, but it was a normal, she had an average income, and she was a great saver. So what was left to spend? Not very much, which is kind of how you probably should be. But I didn't have insight to that. I didn't see the balance of her 401k growing. All I knew is that I couldn't have the stuff that I wanted. So the story I always tell is, I was the starting center on the high school basketball team. I am 5'10" tall. So they usually throw you in the middle of the key. Everyone on the team had Nike high top shoes. I wanted Nike high tops. My mom took me to Payless Shoe Source and I got Pro Wings. Okay. I called them Likeys. But it was embarrassing for me, jokes aside. And so for me, what was true about money was there was never enough money. So fast forward into my 20s, my father had actually brought me into his financial planning business. I grew up with a father who was a financial planner. So he brought me in. I'm studying for the CFP exam. So I'm advising multimillionaires how to interact with their investment portfolios during the day. And I'm going home at night to a stack of bills that I would not open because I could not pay them, because I was a massive overspender. If I earned $100, I would spend $120. I would have borrowed any dollar any bank or credit card company would have been willing to loan me, and I never would have paid it back. It's not entirely true. I paid a lot of it back, but the situation really came to a crisis one day. I had a leased beautiful BMW 3 Series convertible. I pulled it into the gas station, pulled it up to the gas pump. I put in a credit card, and it was at its limit. It was canceled. It was rejected. What's the word I'm looking for? The opposite of approved. Denied. Declined. Yeah. Right? I had one other credit card. I put that in, also maxed out. It was declined. I had one debit card, one checking account. I put that card in and my checking account was empty. I had no money to put in that $40,000 vehicle to fill the gas tank so I could get home. Okay. This really happened. So I walked home from the gas station that day in 3.5-inch heels back in this was probably 31, something like that. I had the energy to wear heels to work. And I just had this kind of, forgive the saying, but come to Jesus conversation with myself. I said to myself, I can really see, first of all, I'm devastated. I'm embarrassed. I feel like kind of the scourge of the earth. Like, my parents paid for me to go to college and I got all those good grades and did that well on tests. And this is what it's amounted to. Like, what is wrong with me? And I can really see that if I continue to interact with money the same way, that my life in the future is going to be full of more and different versions of this very event. My parents would have to rescue me. I would have financial emergencies. And it was embarrassing. And so I just decided on that walk home, like, in this moment, I have no idea how to do things differently. Like, obviously, if I had known how to produce good results, I would have already been producing good results, but I'm going to figure it out, right? I'm just going to get really willing to do anything differently. And so that's when I started studying the emotional side of money. Until then, I had my big calculator and I thought spreadsheets solved every problem. And I started attending conferences, and instead of going to the technical track, I would go to the psychological, so the investor behavior track. So because again, I'm a financial planner. Mm-hmm. So I remember I was in this room with this woman, Denise Hughes, who's a good friend now. I had never met her. And she said the word overspender. And at that time, on that day, I had never heard that word. Yeah. But when I heard it, I knew I was one. Okay. And I figured out the hole in my financial bucket because of my money experiences as a child. Well, I was, instead of being engaged in the process of becoming financially healthy, I was engaged in the project of proving to other people that I was already there. Really, like, you would have loved to go out for drinks with me because I definitely would have showed up in my BMW and paid the tab, right?
Yeah.
Not in the case of you, of course, but trying to prove to other people that I'm worth something when I'm not even sure how much I liked them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I got to really do things differently. I got to really turn around my behaviors. I fixed my credit score. I negotiated with and paid off the credit cards. At this point, it's been 18 years or something, but my husband and I'm just going to share this because your listeners should know that anything is possible. Our marital net worth is over $10 million. So I really have done it different, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing linear or expected about the results that we've produced together, that I've produced with my husband, right? I run a business that makes almost $2 million a year. And so, I'm proof of this statement that no matter how things have gone for you in the area of money, you can have an abundance of it in your future. And in this moment, on this day, the things I used to think and feel about money feel like a distant memory to me. And I'm so grateful for, you talk about your network, your podcast was called The Limitless Life.
Limit-free life. Yeah.
Limit-free life. Right. And it's just like, of course, really, life is limit-free, right? We human beings put constraints on ourselves through our beliefs, through our thinking, through our broken relationships to ourselves, because our mothers and fathers' voices keep coming out of our own mouths, right? Right. And so in that way, I really produced a limit-free financial life for myself, financial freedom. And then the third theme to that was really my relationship to working with and for women. As an economist, I really truly was an economist. And I thought, the best person always gets the job. Like, I just was very pragmatic about gender and the whole thing. And so as I'm being mentored into the financial planning world, of course, I'm being sort of, in some cases, dismissed, not seen by, talked down to by my older white male counterparts. And then I got the experience of being in networks that support women, groups that support women, masterminds of women. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is where I belong, right? This is what I'm born to do and be. And so when I founded my firm, I founded it to be by women for women. Now, at this point, 40% of my clients are men because, of course, most women want to be married to a man, which is great. We call them enlightened men. But that really is kind of the threefold path that brought me to where I am today.
Well, it's also better, I think, for your clients that you've been through both experiences because, sometimes we look at financial planners and we think, well, they've never experienced these hardships. And so, it turns out the reality is that many of them have, and that's why, they're even doing what they're doing. But people don't know that. And so they're intimidated or they feel uncomfortable talking to you because there's so much shame and concealment, just like you were talking about with respect to money. So if you're pretending to be, unworried and better off than you are, talking to a financial planner is tough because you do have to, get honest at some point.
Yeah, I really think this is an egg that's cracking open. More and more people are talking about money. I sort of roll into cocktail parties I talk like this at cocktail parties,
I know.
I don't know any other way to be. Yeah.
I think that's you're bringing up one of the most important points about money. Part of the problem has been women not talking about it. Men talk about it a little bit more than we have. But I think that is just huge. And we learn so much from other people just having conversations with us. And that's the other thing about podcasts. These are just conversations that people can listen in on. But if you're talking about money, and I do the same thing, I just talk about money like I'm talking about a recipe. And, it's
right.
A cooking recipe. And people open up and share things. And it's like there's a big need to talk about it. And we don't do it enough. So,
let me circle back to something you said, which is you said men talk about it more, having been a fly on the wall. And of course, because I'm female, men will talk in front of me because they assume I don't know anything. It's It's for the most part, it's true. I can tell you that they do talk. And for the most part, they share their wins and not their losses. And that a lot of the things they say aren't good advice. So just because they're talking more, it may be more egoic or maybe to prove something, right? But having been a fly on the wall for many of those conversations, I can tell you, if you hear men talking about money, don't assume it's good advice.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I don't think we should assume any advice is necessarily good advice. We should get enough foundational financial information so we can at least ask the right questions, or at least, be able to, when people say something to us, process it a little bit and evaluate whether it does sound valid or not. I think that's the other piece of it. We go into it, and if somebody seems like an authority in the area, we're not really questioning it. We do that with doctors. We do that with a lot of people. We really shouldn't do that with any of the professionals, I don't think. But
oh man, people question their doctors so much. They want to compare the doctors to Dr. Google. Yeah, and I think part of the way that gets alleviated or that gets created in someone's individual life is sort of in the trenches, right? As long as you're in the stands about money, not talking about it, not dealing with it, not engaged in the project of raising your net worth on a daily basis, then the questions are going to be elusive, because where are you thinking from, right? What are you even thinking about? But if your thought process is, how can I raise my income by 15% in 2026? Well, no, that's a question that has an answer, right? Right. Or for example, how can I maximize the returns my investment portfolio is giving me without taking excess risk? That's a question that has an answer. And so I think as long as you're on your path, you can sort through the voices that come, whether that's at a cocktail party. I mean, I did a whole podcast episode one time about the armchair financial advisor, because my experience is almost every woman, and probably in 99% of cases, every single widow, every woman who has lost her husband has some well-meaning man, whether it be a friend, former real estate agent, uncle, brother, something, telling her what to do with her money. It's so frequent. I did a podcast episode about it, right? So just because he cares about you and means well does not give him the ability to give you great financial advice. It could be great. I don't know, but it could be really bad.
Oh, that's such a great point. I will have to search out that podcast. I'll have to put it in the show notes, but that sounds great. And again, an amazing point, because for one thing, how does that piece of advice factor into the big puzzle of your whole financial picture? And I think that's one thing that when I was reading through your website, you address the bigger picture. So you address the impact of taxes on your, whatever your investment portfolio is.
Yeah, on your net worth over time.
Yeah. So if you want to speak to that a little bit, because the other thing is finding, after you've heard all the advice and you've done your research and you've asked some critical questions, finding somebody that you trust who you can go to and speak with, or a team of people, is crucial. I mean, I don't know what I would do without some of the people, my tax accountant, a financial advisor, people who I can go to, and I know they've got my back. I've been with them long enough, and I know, and it's invaluable. So, and this is what you do for people. So I'd love for you to speak to that a little.
I see. So of course, everyone listening knows I have a dog in this race, right? I work and make money as a financial advisor. So of course, I'm going to say you need a financial advisor. And it's so interesting because the messaging about you don't need a financial advisor, just come do my little coaching program, or just learn how to invest, just buy an S&P 500 index fund and hold on to it. You don't need a financial advisor. And I just laugh to myself, because it's like, we have a skills assessment that we give candidates for advisory roles in my firm. And I think, okay, come take my skills assessment. Just get a 50% on it, right? Just work for my team for 30 days. If you last 30 days, I'll eat my words. But until then, I promise you, there's so much complexity in this world that we help people navigate, and we meet with our clients and we have a slide deck. And on that slide deck, we have their goals. And it always surprises them, because we put, do not run out of money And they say it's kind of like simple, right? Like, of course, I say, yeah, we can use all kinds of fancy technical language. We can talk about the risk adjusted returns of your investments, or we can talk about tax drag, or we can talk about IRMA adjustments, but ultimately, that is all in service of, and you said the word, Michelle, is the big picture, the comprehensive goal, which is your money has to outlive you. Otherwise, you're dead in the water, And, for those of you listening who are in your saving and investing years, of course, your goal is to save and grow enough money so that you can pay yourself and replace your earned income if and when you want to stop working. So that's your saving investing years. And then in your retirement years, it's make my money live longer than me. So again, people are like, that's shockingly simple, but yes, Hilary, that's what I want. Make my money last longer than me. And everything we do is in service of that. And I will tell you, I started in this business in 1999, so 26 years ago. Okay. And at that time, the message from my mentors, the people who mentored me up, was the tax return is the tax return, and the tax return is God. And so I never spent much time thinking about what was on the tax return. But of course, in life, you have the amount of money that you earn, and you can do three things with it. You can spend it, save it, or pay it in taxes. That's it. You got three choices, right? Except the taxes piece isn't a choice. And so obviously the spending and the saving, that's you directed. Those are your goals. That's what's important to you. That's your time with family. That's your house that you want to live in. That's your new swimming pool, right? Those are the things that you love. And so obviously making the tax piece a little smaller would benefit you by definition. And we started to see massive mistakes on these tax returns. So we would, in some cases, if you have, let's say you have $1 million portfolio and there's a 25% market decline. Well, now maybe if we've done the right thing for you, which is tax loss harvesting, now you have potentially $250,000 in what are called tax loss carry forwards. Now, what has to happen is your tax preparer has to remember to put those on your tax return every year. If he or she forgets in any year, they're gone. Now, you can amend the tax return, but someone has to know that those were forgotten. And we started seeing huge portions of tax loss carry forward, which functions as a tax. It's not really a tax credit. So think of $250,000 in tax losses being worth something like $80,000 to you. So if your tax preparer forgets a $250,000 carry forward, they just took $80,000 out of your savings account. That's a big freaking deal, right? And this was happening more often than I'd like to think about. And other mistakes were being made on the tax return. So I said to my team, we've got to get excellent at tax return review. So we started learning what people are doing. And we have accumulated a suite of services that we call ultra tax efficient wealth management. And I won't go into all of the services because, of course, how you are taxed is a function of how you earn money and how you grow your investments. But if it's a tool and it's out there and it's evidence-based and the IRS approves of it, my team and I are doing it. And it doesn't involve weird, fringy, complex, and expensive trusts. It doesn't involve taking money out of your control for a decade or more in some cases to get any tax benefit. I'm talking about how some other tax deferral tools work, right? I consider those to be bad. I want your experience as an investor to be good. I want you to have access to your money. I want you to have a known set of returns that you're working from. Like, what can we expect from this, Hilary? I want to have an answer to that question, right? And so we've gotten really good at that at the same time as, now, I don't know what your experience is. You said you do have a CPA, but the tax prep world has kind of dried up. It is really hard to find good tax prep now, right? And so it's just a time for where American taxpayers are kind of suffering. H&R Block used to charge, I think it was $500, and now my clients are paying $2,000 to $3,000 for a tax return. But the ones who don't know to expect that price are like, what the heck is this? I'll just do it myself on TurboTax. So we're helping them through that. And then kind of the final piece to that is you should know about some things that are new to market. There's some exciting new tools that are coming out of what's called family offices. So if you have a family office as your financial advisor, you probably have a net worth of about $250 million or more. Okay. So at that time, you have a whole team of people working for you, and they have these sophisticated tools that they often start in family offices because of the scale, right? It's easier to get $250 million million from one family than it is to find 250 millionaires to say yes to you. It just is, right? But now there's specific tools that are coming out of these offices that are really helping people, in some cases, live what I'm calling a tax-free life. Now, the taxes are in there, but specifically with capital gains, for you or your clients or listeners who've had, for example, sold real estate that was highly appreciated, or sold a business for capital gains, or if you happen to have bought Apple stock in 1998 and held on to it until now, you've got a huge purse of money, but probably don't want to sell it because you're afraid of the capital gains. And I'll just say a few words about it because you're going to have to do more internet research about it. It's called tax-aware long short. Tax-aware long short. And it is literally making it possible for you to keep access to your money, have market returns, not add meaningful risk, and be able to spend, as long as that spending is controlled, tax-free. So it can mean 30 to 50% more wealth over your lifetime. It's really like, after decades of watching what I consider to be very insufficient tax deferral strategies. So things like 1031 exchanges, qualified opportunity zones, these kinds of things, it's all sound good, except the reality of your experience is so, in some cases, so very bad that I never wanted to interact with those. And this is like light years better. How was that? I just talked for like 5 minutes. Was that too much?
No, no, it's fascinating. And you're really, I think, highlighting the intriguing things that nobody knows about that, we could be taking advantage of, but we're not. And maybe our people aren't telling us about them either. So I feel like you've gone, not only are you looking at a more comprehensive picture, but you've gone really deep into ways to help people defer taxes, which most financial planners, you're correct, do not do. And,
I know.
And what you said about the tax prep world, too, is very interesting to me because I love my tax accountant, but he's going to retire any minute. I mean, he's,
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
He's probably not taking new clients and he's retiring soon.
That's exactly right. And It's been on my mind. I know a few people he's trained for, but it brings up a great point because I don't even think most people know that you don't want a tax preparer. You want a tax strategist in your life, basically. And that's what I have. I have, both in one person. But good. I really myself have not, even though, again, I'm with you on this. And I made the same weird mistakes where I was a CPA with so much work experience and my MBA and all this stuff. And I did some really dumb things financially, I have to say. And that's
welcome to the party. You've earned your stripes. I'll give you a little medal for your uniform.
Well, and that's really when in trying to find answers to what the heck am I doing, I found, this whole piece about my relationship with money. And that really was what was driving everything. And, the reasons I was making certain decisions were absolutely not sound financial reasons.
But they seemed
emotional.
Right in the moment, right?
You could certainly justify them in your rationalization of things. Yes. And it was much more reactionary. Things were going on and my reaction, in my case, it was to protect other people, was to throw money at it. And I'd figure that out later, and, it's very interesting how we operate. So I've been fascinated by this ever since, because I, too, thought you just need to know a lot and then you're fine. And it doesn't actually work that way.
It doesn't always carry the day.
No. So,
it does not always carry the day.
I think it's so fascinating, the whole psychology and emotional part of money. But you also have to be super smart about the things you're actually taking action on. And that's where I think the people who are more technical like you in terms of investments and things are crucial. And I agree with you. I'm in the camp that a financial advisor is the way to go. I do know a lot of people who are like, I'm doing better on my own with investments. But unless you want to spend that time actually learning how to do that, which I do not really, I want to know enough. But I want somebody who's really smart, not only giving me advice, but also taking care of things. Doing the work of all of this and not putting it off because, I mean, I would put it off. I would have other things that come up, but you don't do that with your clients. That's your job. So,
Yeah, I'm actually not so sure, especially in the publicly traded marketplaces, that it's possible to produce higher than market returns anymore. I mean, if you think about it, the potential returns from the stock market are literally infinite. So if you knew which stock was going to go up tomorrow, you would just double down and you would double and compound, and your growth would be exponential. And pretty soon you would own an island, and that would be it. That would be the end of it, right?
Right.
And so they've thrown everything they have, the smartest finance people in the world, the smartest computers in the world, at the stock market, and no one can figure out a pattern. And that's been decades of research. Since the 1960s, they've been doing that, right? And so when someone says to me, I'm doing better than my financial advisor, it's kind of like, I doubt it. But you could show me your returns, but they never do.
Well, and you really have to look at it over a long period of time. I mean, for a year.
Correct. You have to provide for the rest of your life.
Right. So I would really love for you to speak to investing in women, because I do think, I mean, everything's fairly new to women. I mean, it's not that long ago that we couldn't even have our own bank accounts. So it's not shocking that we're a little behind on this, but I feel like this is one of those areas that it's important for women to be comfortable getting on board, for one thing. So how do you make women feel like, let's start investing in some particular ways?
Yeah. Well, gosh, where to start? Woo, I'm looking for the thread to pull to get into that conversation. It's going to be a good one. So, of course, we want to talk about why are you even investing? What is the point of investing? What are we doing with this, right? Why would we put our money in any risk? Well, the fact of the matter is we're kind of the first, maybe the second, but really like the first generation to have to pay for our own retirements. So, 4 generations ago, people just didn't live long enough, right? They worked until they died.
Yeah.
And then there were companies that had pensions. So there was this cradle to grave financial aspect for people who outlived the life expectation of 57 years or whatever it was. And I'm going to get the years a little bit wrong, but I believe they implemented Social Security in 1963. The Social Security claiming age was 65 and the average life expectancy was 67. Maybe the 65 and the 67 are swapped. But the point is, this Social Security is supposed to be this retirement replacement tool, but really you weren't even allowed to claim it until after you were dead. So that's just another case of, we weren't living long enough. And now medical science and the study of longevity is all wonderful and everyone wants to live to 120, except it's a financial problem. So the reason we invest money is because you need your money to grow. You save it, you earn it, you save it, and then you need it to grow. But you need it to grow while you're not paying attention to it. So you can do stuff that you do well. Spend time with your family, sleep, exercise, work, make money, these things. And so that really is why you invest. And then you get to choose what you invest in and what are the features of what you invest in. And so in my book, I want to have some sense that there is an expected return. Somebody's measured what I'm investing in, and there's some degree of confidence that if I invest in it for 10, 20, 30 years, I'm going to have a known return number that I can plan for. And you can do that with CDs, okay, except CDs have interest rate risk. You can do that with bonds. Bonds earn about 1% more than CDs, or you can do that in the stock market. And the stock market earns 4 to 6% more than bonds. Now, over your lifetime, that 4 to 6% compounds to like 7 figures or more, right? So it's a big deal. However, you say stock market, and I do this when I speak. What's the first word you think of when I say stock market? And the first word is always risky. Something to do with I might lose my money, right? And we've all been taught to think that way, unfortunately, because Wall Street messed with people back in the 60s and 70s. They really were stock jockeys, churning and burning clients, getting people to trade stocks, and then, of course, doing things that weren't in the interest of the investor. So everyone, you and me included, knows someone who lost it all, quote unquote, lost it all in the stock market, right? So everyone lives like losing it all is a possibility. But if you invest the right way, that's not really the case anymore. And people don't understand what the stock market is, right? There's 15,000 publicly traded companies out there. And so every one of those companies is headed by an executive and a team of executives and a board of directors who have really good intentions. And these people are independent of politics, of the economy, of trade wars, of blah, 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 right? They want to make money for themselves, their customers. Well, they produce value for their customers and money for their shareholders. So you've got lots of really competitive, really entrepreneurial, really creative, really smart people out there trying to produce customer value, shareholder value. And all the stock market is a scoreboard for human ingenuity, right? Wow. I mean, people aren't going to stop being competitive. People aren't going to stop having a profit motive. And the profit motive is really wonderful when it comes to the things that surround us. Just look at the computer and audio equipment I have in my room right now, my home office, where I'm making a movie that's going to be on YouTube soon, right? This was unconceivable 10, 15 years ago, right? And that's all because of these smart, competitive people producing technology that gets better and better. And then investing in the stock market is your opportunity to take your pro rata share of those profits. Simply said, that's it. That's the full explanation of the stock market. I'm going to give you, Michelle, if you're running a company, here's $100. You go produce 10% profits with it. Now, if you produce 10% profits, I want my $10. That's it. That's the stock market, right? And so what we know is over the last 100 years, the stock market has produced, and I mean large cap US stocks, and do not go buy anything because I'm saying this. It is not customized investment advice, but the stock market has produced about 8.5% to 9.5% returns, depending on how you measure. Okay. Mm-hmm. That includes the Great Depression, stagflation of the 1970s, the dot bomb of 1999 and 2000 that was centered in Silicon Valley, where I come from. And then, of course, the Great Recession of 06, 07. Well, it bottomed out in 08. No, sorry. The S&P bottomed in 09. It was the real estate liquidity crisis and then the stock market recession. Yeah. So, and the 10%, 8.5% to 9.5% returns, that is inclusive of all those horrific events. So the stock market is extremely resilient. And if I had my way, all women would be excited about it, want to invest in it in smart ways, right? Because other types of investments that people do, I think in some cases, they are not aware of the true risks that they are taking. And I have seen other types of investments go horrifically wrong in ways that people didn't even know to think about, right? Like it was like a major surprise. Like I didn't even know this was a possible outcome. And with the stock market, we kind of do know the outcomes. I mean, we don't know. It's like needing a new roof, right? You're going to need a new roof. The stock market's going to go down. We don't know when. But we kind of have an idea of how much it's going to cost. It sucks. It sucks to have to pay for a new roof or to suffer through a stock market downturn. Yeah. But so far, the roof stays on and the stock market goes back up. Right? Yeah. So I've always been very passionate about women really building, I call it an intimate relationship with the stock market, deeply trusting and positive and optimistic.
I love that. I really love that. And how much should, how much would you tell somebody to learn about this before taking it on?
Well, gosh, that would be a question for you, the individual investor, right? Because you have to ask yourself, what is it going to take for me to trust? Trust is necessary, and that's the qualitative factor we often don't say out loud, is you have to trust both me, your financial advisor, and the stock market investments I'm going to put you in. And sometimes I will stop a conversation where there clearly isn't trust, and I'll say, let's just stop, and let's just say what needs to be said, which is right now you don't trust, and trust is required. So have you thought about what it would take to get you to the line? Do you want to get there? Right? Because you can lead a horse to water, but of course you can't make them drink, right? I mean, I deserve your trust. I I mean, 26 years in the business and my own lessons hard won. But of course, that doesn't mean anybody's going to trust me. So I think for a lot of people, it requires some book knowledge and some as lived experience. And that's why it's so much better to start with smaller amounts. Let's say you put money in your 401k. Let's say a Roth IRA, because I can't manage your 401k. You put money in a Roth IRA for the first time. It's $5,000. Well, now it's $5,000, and it goes up to 7, and then it goes down to 6, and then it goes up to 10, and then it goes down to 9, and then it goes up to 20, right? And it's like those are digestible amounts. But let's say you inherit $1 million. Well, now if $1 million goes up to 1.6 and then it goes down to 1.4, and you sit down at the computer after a hard day's work and you go, I lost $200,000 today. Forget it. Sell it. I don't trust you. I'm out. In fact, the heck with you. You gave me bad advice, Hilary, right? When in fact, that money is on the same path that our $1,000 was in the previous conversation. It's just that earning money and saving money. Well, earning money is a skill, saving money is a skill, and then preserving wealth is a very separate skill. And it's so much easier learned with smaller numbers. So that's what I wish for you, is to start wherever you're at by putting that money in the stock market in ways that are recommended, and to attain that skill set. It is like riding a bike, right? If you make it through 2 market cycles, I think you're good probably for the rest of your life, because it's coming back.
Yeah. Wow. I love that so much. And, the whole time you were talking, I'm thinking trust is such an enigma in a way. I mean, that's a big part of what I talk to people about in their discussions about their relationship with money. Just like any other relationship, you have to have some trust. You have to trust in yourself to an extent, and in the structures around the financial world. But I was also thinking, wow, we trust every day when we get in our car to go somewhere. I mean, I just trust that. I don't think about it. Is there a risk? Sure. So there's nothing without some element of risk. So it's how you perceive that and what you tell yourself about that,
and what's the opportunity cost, right?
Exactly.
What if you had a life where you refused to get in a car?
Right.
What would that cost you?
Right.
And then what if you have a life
financially with a lot of
right.
people? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't often get to meet those people. They don't come to my office.
Yeah. Well, speaking of coming to your office, this has been so great. I could easily talk to you for the rest of the day, but unfortunately, I cannot. And so I would love for you to tell people, I mean, you are the real deal. Like I said, I've been following you for a very long time. You're very impressive. And you really cater to the individual. And if anybody goes to your website, they will feel that in the copy on your site. It's like it.
Oh, thank you. We put so much into that.
Well, I felt it. When you read a website, you feel something, and I really felt like this is a woman who not only understands all the technical everything, but understands me. And what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling about money and my needs. So I would really recommend people to go. You have some great videos on there as well. And so anyway, go ahead, and if you would tell people how to find you and work with you.
Yeah, thank you. So we offer comprehensive wealth management. We are 100% virtual, which is a really great way to work with a financial advisor. We meet you in the comfort of your own home, and we have clients in 4 different time zones. So, and of course, I've set up the entire company so that we are super responsive to clients, typically respond within 15 minutes, to be totally honest with you. And what you should do is go to hendershottwealth.com and just schedule yourself for a no commitment, no cost conversation where we'll see if we might be a good fit to work together.
That's great. Thank you so much. And you have your
Thanks.
podcast, and you have your blog, and other ways for people to get to know you as well and to learn from you as well.
Yeah, the podcast is called Love Your Money.
Yeah, which I love. Yeah. Okay. Well, Hilary, I can't thank you enough for being the guest star of my 200th Money and You show. Thank you.
An honor.
Bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. I am very interested in your work and what you do for people. And, you're really, really helping people. I know that, you may, however financial planners think of themselves, I think for the most part, it's about helping people. It's about helping women live their best lives, and men as well. But I think there's a little bit of an emphasis on women with what I read. So.
It is. Our mission is people are thriving. So that's what we're up to. And like it or not, you can't thrive without a healthy financial life. So it's a key, it's a critical aspect.
You said it. That's exactly right. So, all right. Well, thank you. And thank you, audience, for listening and joining us today. We so appreciate you enjoying the Money and You show so that we could get to our 200th show. And we look forward to bringing you many more wonderful guests and topics. So again, thank you. You can find us on all the podcast platforms and on the YouTube, the Limit Free Life YouTube channel. And you can reach out to me anytime at limitfreelife.com or Michelle at limitfreelife.com. Thank you so much. We will see you next week.